Hi guys, how are you? Mko fiti? So a few weeks ago, I put up a video of me talking about my anxiety, and something that I had recently discovered was actually one of the triggers. And in that conversation, I was talking about my many mobile phones. Not one, many, because I operate like 3 mobile phones. And something else I said in that video is I have discovered that some of these triggers are within my control and some are not. Some are beyond me. And I mentioned that a part of what I was planning to do was seek professional help, therapy, basically. But then sasa nikafikiria, when I called this person who's my guest today, my therapist, so when I called her, I realized the feedback from that video was quite overwhelming. I realized siko peke yangu, we are so many people, because just not only the people who are, who just went onto the post and commented. I had so many other people reach out to me via DM. I realized kumbe ni shida tuko nayo watu wengi sana. So nikajiambia, Judy, why seek help just for yourself? Why don't I look for this, get my therapist to come talk to all of us and help us understand this thing that we call anxiety in a better way, yeah? And that's the reason for my guest today. Hi, Eunice.
Hi, Judy.
Hi, how are you?
I'm quite good.
I call her Counselor Eunice. That is, and actually she's Counselor Eunice on Instagram. Thank you so much for coming to talk to us today.
Thank you.
Please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes.
As Madam Judy has said, I am Counselor Eunice. I normally counsel people from all ages, children, youngsters, elderly, all of them. On top of that, I'm also a parent and I'm also a teacher by profession. So I hold 2 professions. Thank you.
I'm
teacher?
So happy.
Yes.
And a psychologist.
And I'm so happy that I've been invited here. We discuss this issue, which of course is affecting so many of us, and that is anxiety. Thank you.
Karibu sana. So what Counselor Eunice is not telling you is that after I posted that video, I think 2 hours into the video being online, I called you and we had a very long conversation.
Exactly.
Yes. Because our conversation was basically, so kuna hii video nimepost, that is what I was telling her, and I've realized kumbe there's a problem somewhere. The comments and the feedback have been a bit they were quite many. And I feel like it's something we need to address. And that is how we found ourselves here. So, anxiety, the way I understand it. So from my understanding, before you give us the professional explanation, yeah? My anxiety is being in that constant space of worrying and fear, because I've realized for me, I think that is basically my life. That has been my life for a while now, and these 2 things get to a point where they're actually interfering with your normal day activities. You feel like some simple activities inaanza kukusumbua, something that would do very, chap like this, inafika mahali you wake up one morning and you're like, I have no strength to do anything. So and the fact, when I was doing my research, I realized that they actually say that anxiety is actually a mental health disorder. I think hapo ndio ilianza kunishtua. I think that is the point. I told myself, Judy, you need to really take control of your life. You need to sit down and figure this thing out. Because ukianza kusikia ati mental health disorder, like if not treated, they say it can become a mental illness. Like inaweza kufika mahali sasa ikuwe ni you're mentally ill. Mm-hmm. So I think for me, that was my wake up call. I think that's when I realized, hey, I need to do something. Yeah. So that is my own understanding of anxiety. So from a professional point of view, what is anxiety? How do you describe anxiety?
Thank you, Judy.
Mm-hmm.
One, I congratulate you. You're on the right track.
Thank
You
you.
have just defined it the way I would define it as a psychologist or as a counselor.
Okay.
So you have done a good research.
Thank you.
When we talk of anxiety, it is that nervousness, that worry. And I would want to tell you that it is very normal to be anxious. As a human person, it is very normal to be anxious. But if it exceeds, then it goes to a disorder. And to a certain extent, it might even crop up into panic attack. And just as you have said, when you are anxious, you become so restless. You are in a state of confusion. You are in a state of not knowing what to do next. You are kind of confused. You do not have confidence, and therefore it led you to believe that there is this problem that is in you. And one thing that I would want to say is that when we feel anxious, we need also to seek somebody to talk to, somebody to talk with, because to a certain extent, as you said, it is a mental health disorder. And if it exceeds, then you may find yourself having so many problems. And I would also want to say that when you are seeking professional counseling, it does not necessarily mean that you are sick in such a way that you have those mental problems, those that will make you start going to a mental hospital like Mathare in Nairobi, or you are going to start correcting papers in the streets. No, this is something that is in you, in me, in that somebody. And you need to have a one-on-one talk whereby the problems that are bringing about this nervousness, the problems that are bringing this worry are catered for. And that is how we look at anxiety.
Right. I like what you said, that seeking help, like seeking professional help, in this case seeing a therapist, haimaanishi kichwa inaruka, like you have so many problems, kichwa inaruka. No, it's just trying to get somebody who will help you understand whatever this thing you're feeling is and help you move forward, like live a better life.
True.
Basically, yes. So my next question would be, so what are the causes of anxiety? And let me start by explaining how I understand or what I think my causes of anxiety so far have been. So looking back at in terms of career, because I think my biggest triggers for my anxiety come from what I've done and what I'm doing, my career in terms of what I've done in the past and what it is that I'm doing now. So I've always been sisi not for production. You can see, it's a big team behind here.
True.
And production, basically, TV and film production is a very high intense job. Like you're always on the move. Like ile kazi yenye mnakimbianga 24/7. So that is what I was doing for like almost 8-9 years. So at some point, being the producer of a show, you're in charge of a big team, a big crew, and everybody comes to you for whatever, with whatever problems or whatever, anything they need, they come to you. So for a long time, I have always operated mini phones. I think the reason nikisema simu hapo ndio shida zangu zilianzia. So in production as a producer, your phone is on 24 hours in a day. So kuna mtu atakupigia 6 in the morning, kuna mtu atakupigia 11 p.m. at night. And every time you're required to be able, as in when somebody calls you, you're required to pick up. Because of course they're not calling me because wanataka tu kunisumbua saa 5 za usiku. They're calling because work requires them to call you. And then now 3 years ago I shifted a bit. I'm still in production, but I shifted a bit to now like talent management. And it's very similar to production, TV and film production. So but here now simu hata zinaenda zikiongezeka. Pale kwa production you probably had 2 phones. Now here zinaenda zikiongezeka because you're dealing with so many people, dealing with clients, dealing with, and then the cycle has, I realized it has been the same so far. You know, like even if there's a shift in your career and what you're doing now, that line of work is very similar. Yeah. So I know for sure. So far, I told you I have a list. I have a list. I have a book that I note down different, as in all these things that I'm feeling that maybe could be the trigger for my anxiety, is my career so far. But you see, kazi lazima tufanye.
True.
Hizo simu tatu zangu, si hitaji simu tatu juu nataka tu kukani kuna simu mingi. Hizo simu tatu, every single phone has a purpose. So for me, so far I know my career, my line of work is actually one of the causes for my anxiety. So, am I right? Can you define that as a cause for anxiety? And what other causes are there?
Right. I'm happy with the narrative. Now, you have actually talked at a length. And when we look at the anxiety itself, we can divide it into 2. It can be caused by environment. It can be caused by genetic. It is genetically caused.
Okay.
When we talk of genetic, this goes down to the family. And research has shown that if a mother is anxious, she can transfer that to the children. When we come to the case that we have at hand, ours is environmental. There are so many triggers when it comes to the environment. There is the job, the most trigger in this. There is the issue of money, another great trigger. There is the issue of family relationship. There is lifestyle. So just to mention a few.
Yeah.
And the one that is mostly affecting people as we talk now is job and money. We want to get that money.
Yeah.
And I'm happy with the young people because number 1, they are very ambitious. Number 2, they like comparing themselves. That my friend here has achieved this, has achieved that. I have not achieved this. And therefore, what do? I would want to copy that person. And there is one thing that I would want to tell people, that we are not competing, but we want to complete. So when we come to our job, when we come to our money, most of us, that is where we are. Take, for instance, the case of COVID-19. Many people wamesimamishwa kazi. They are at home.
Yeah.
They don't know what they are going to do next. So they are in that state of worry. And that is why depression has actually taken a toll. That is why suicidal cases are multiplying every now and then.
Yeah.
Change of lifestyle. I would want to lead this kind of lifestyle. I am not able to do it. So what do? I'll keep on inviting this worry. I'll keep on inviting this anxiety. And I would want to say that anxiety is very normal. It is very good to a human person.
Yeah.
But if it goes beyond, then it calls for more attention. And this is where now we need to look for a therapist. On the other hand, when you look for somebody to talk with, not to talk to, but to talk with, you are assisted to get out of that worry, to get out of that feeling. And I would also want to tell you that in our present state, you cannot be cheated, that even those people that we find like they have gotten everything they would wish in life, they are comfortable. If you open their heart, you'll still see some element of nervousness, some element of anxiety. So joblessness, money, lifestyle, relationships, all those come or they bring about this anxiety. In your case, I'm happy that you have talked about job because it is one of the triggers. there is what we call telephonophobia. That is the fear from the word
telephonophobia.
So phobia is a fear.
Yes.
And it is part and parcel of this anxiety. Yes. It is the one that is bothering you. It is the one that is actually giving you that even sleepless night.
Yeah.
And I'm happy that you've said there is a certain time that you'll keep it aside, so that at least you can have your time. On the other hand, when you have that problem of the phone, we can retrieve that from the childhood. You might be having that problem because you do not know what the other person on the other end is telling you. Probably, I may not know, but we normally try to find out.
Yeah.
There has been bad news that were relayed to you through the phone. And therefore, that one brings about that anxiety. Am I going to receive the same message? Am I going to receive the same? Because these days, with the media, with the telephones, with the phones, if anything happens, I'll just make a call and I'll break the news. I don't care how the news are going to affect you. Those issues of losing a loved one, we are doing it on the phone. So they will bring bad memories. If, for instance, when you are young, there were those traumatic incidences that you have probably not let go. You have not been able to let go. They will keep on recurring. And whenever you hear the phone ringing, it will trigger. On the other hand, there might be the fear of negative response. You don't know whether the person on the other end, because of the job, want to tell you that kimeumana, kuna mahali mambo imeenda kobo, we need your attention. And you being the overall decision maker, you'll have to put one and one together and give the answer. You do not know whether the answer that you are going to give is the correct answer. You don't know whether the decision that you are going to give will be the best. So there is that kind of fear of negative response from the other end.
Wow. I'm smiling because I can see myself. I totally relate with that point. I think my fear my cause for telephonophobia is because of so when it comes to work, I'm in a position where I'm always making decisions on behalf of people and work. Like I'm in a place where if somebody's calling me, they're calling me because they need me to find a solution to something. So mimi simu ikilia, my first reaction inakuanga guy. Sasa shida gani tena? Because I'm always in that constant thinking of it's a problem. They're calling because there's a problem that I need to sort out. So I can see that that fear of negative, whatever is in this person who's calling me, probably has whatever they're calling me about is not something very good. It's probably something negative. So I think nakwanga always armed. Na hiyo kufeel ni kama ina cause. Because I feel I'm always very nervous. Simu inalianga, my first feeling is of panic.
Great.
Because I always assume there's a problem. Sidhani kuna phone call inapigangwa na furahi, na feel that nimefurahi kwanza, simu zote najuanga. If that phone is ringing, there's a problem somewhere.
So probably to add on that, I can say that with the nature of your work, you are one person who is running from one place to the other. You have the phones, not one, not two, and all of them might even ring at the same time. There is another element of perfectionist. Being a perfectionist, you want to see that the kind of work that you are doing, you have done it to the best. And therefore, in that state of wanting this one to be perfect and you also want your team to perfect it, when you hear the phone ringing, it will trigger, it comes back. What is happening? Not necessarily that there is something wrong that is taking place, but probably somebody has also come with another idea. And the idea is on the positive. So how are you going to react to that? And therefore, it takes you back to that restlessness, that kind of sitting on the edge of the seat because of a phone call. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, all those things you're saying apply to me. I can see myself now. When you mention it, I can see it. I can see why the phones have been, my mini phones have been a problem. So I read somewhere, Google inatufundisha vitu mingi. Sisi wote, nowadays when you feel if you have any questions, you first run to Google before you run to anybody else. So when I was doing my research on anxiety, I saw a statement somewhere where they were saying that anxiety has no cure. Huh? What do you mean there's no cure? So am I supposed to live with it for the rest? What am I supposed to do? So what are some of what is the treatment for anxiety? What am I supposed to do to cope with anxiety if there's really no cure, as they say?
Great. Good question. But before we go to that question, and having gone through what anxiety is and the triggers, before we go to the management, I think I would wish to take you back a bit, and then we first of all look at the signs and symptoms of this anxiety.
Yes.
We are very different as human beings. So with the anxiety, the symptoms varies from one person to the other.
True.
Just like with COVID-19, even with the jab, you hear somebody saying, when I got the jab, these are the feelings. When I got mine, I did not feel. So when we come to this anxiety, there are those signs and symptoms. How would I know? How would I tell that I'm suffering from this anxiety? And I want to say that it is a disorder in itself. And you as a person, when you are having this anxiety, you may get to know, even if you have not gone to the doctor or even to a therapist, you may start feeling like you are confused. You lack self-confidence. You feel like your self-esteem is going down, because confidence and self-esteem goes hand in hand. And therefore, when you are actually with people, you feel like you are withdrawing. So there is that sense of withdrawal. Other people may be very talkative. And why are they being talkative? Because they want to get rid of this feeling. It is actually not a good feeling.
True, it is not.
Other times you start feeling butterflies, because when you are anxious, it is telling you that there is some danger. You are anticipating some kind of danger. And that is why the worry is also coming in. You'll find others are trembling. You find others are sweating, having headache, sleepless nights. We call it insomnia. You hear people saying, I skipped a beat. My heart skipped a beat. And I fail to understand, if it skips a beat, then it brings so many other complications with the heart.
True.
So the palpitations, breathlessness, heart rate beating exceeds. So these are just but some signs and symptoms of anxiety. And the only way that we can try to eliminate this is to accept it. And I would want to tell that person there, the thought that you resist persists. So if you keep on resisting, it will keep on persisting.
True.
And when now we come to the management of this
Thank
anxiety.
you for watching. Remember to subscribe. My name is Unita.